Kathleen Raine's poetry, In Defense of the Soul, Imprinted on Matter. Kathleen Raine's poems comprise two related themes: the unsought matter made manifest in non-human plants, animals and geographical features, and the recollections of the dead. Her poetry, autobiographies, and critical essays are saturated with metaphors of natural phenomena. Terrestrial and celestial presences are engaged in conversation with a repository of image patterns in the collective unconscious. Raine attempts to revitalize, quote, a tradition of sacred knowledge embodied in every civilization and all mythologies, unquote. She looks for her companions and finds sources of inspiration by moving throughout the history of humankind in solidarity with non-human creatures, thereby discovering a spiritual kinship lineage with them. In her essay entitled What is the Use of Poetry?, Raine elaborates on the spiritual desolation caused by the materialist view of things, and the growing discontent among people, quote, who seek to reach the souls, the real, essential being, alike of rock and stone and tree, and know the subtler and higher regions of human thought, unquote. As an awakener who draws from resources in the work of Jung, who represents the timeless archaic heritage of humanity, she exercises Platonic anamnesis, a memory of wholeness, and urges the readers to turn inward and become aware of the rich world of archetypes. Raine's gratitude to Carl Jung is boundless because he has given her a key to the symbolic tradition handed down through countless generations. The concern with problems caused by materialist ideologies entirely lacking spirituality is central to Raine's poetics, and it is impressive that she expresses such a strong affinity between her work and that of Jungian psychology. Archetypes are needed to maintain a balance between the conscious and unconscious parts of our personality as we strive towards a state of individual wholeness, which discloses its supreme symbol in the tree of life, as the philosophical tree, which appears in the treatise of Jodocus Greverus, examined by Carl Jung in Alchemical Studies. Greverus asseverates that the tree is, quote, a gift of God containing the secret of the undivided oneness of the Holy Trinity, unquote. Like Gerhard Dorn and Zosimus, Greverus believed that the tree stood for the union of the whole of organic and inorganic nature and the spiritual world. The tree, which is a hermetic symbol, entails the potential for spiritual and philosophical development. According to Jung, the tree symbol, which is associated with growth, life, and maternal instincts, occupies a central position in mythology and appears frequently in the medieval alchemical texts as a symbol of death and rebirth, and as the epitome of alchemical operations aiming at the transformation of base metals into the philosophical gold. Jung also writes on the significance of roses and birds. The rose is an allegory of Mary, and it also represents the blood of Christ. The rose image is the Hortus conclusus, enclosed garden, which is identical to the prima materia. Birds appear in the poems as either carriers of souls or messengers of death. The tree with the bird symbolizes the opus magnum, which involves the unity of opposites. In Raine's poems, too, roses and birds appear as symbols of the unsought matter and offer guidance to individuals who have lost their connection with the sacred to connect with eternity, the world of archetypes. She envisions enchanted openings onto relations with nature through her archetypal epiphanies, one of which was the vision of the tree of life, which helped her understand that, quote, a tree, a light over the sea, a mountain, or a garden, or animal, or bird, or human face may seem to speak to us from beyond itself, unquote. Jung held a series of seminars on Nietzsche in Zurich between 1934 and 1939. His reflections on a hermetic passage in Thus Spoke Zarathustra are pertinent to our discussion of Raine's musings about the dead. In the prologue to Thus Spoke Zarathustra, the Persian prophet claims, quote, even the wisest among you is only a disharmony and hybrid of plant and phantom, but do I bid you become phantoms or plants? Unquote. Jung reflects on the modern individual's existential position as a hybrid of plant and ghost and interprets Zarathustra's invocation. Quote, I beseech you, my brothers, remain faithful to the earth and don't believe those who speak to you of extraterrestrial hopes. Unquote, as follows. A hybrid is a united discord, so it's an objectionable sort of union of opposites. The plant is completely unconscious, and the ghost has no flesh, no body, so it is an absolutely metaphysical ghost connected with a plant and forming a unit, something utterly unconscious and close to matter. Yes, the flesh dies and then it becomes a ghost. So that hybrid consists in a natural growth on one side, perfectly sound, yet something died in between, the animal man. The flesh died and only the ghost remains. The original natural spirit, anima naturalita Christiana, that flesh in which this natural Christian soul once lived and vanished. And what remains is this hybrid of plant, a sound beginning, and the ghost, a sad end of human life. Unquote. In her poems about plants and all living and non-living things, Raine uses images such as crypt, stone, shell, dust, shroud that have connotations related to death. In addition, the unborn and the dead are intertwined with these images in many poems. Judging from Jung's interpretation, I believe Raine is pointing to the Christian teaching that existed and then disappeared in the space between the plant and the ghost. However, the word hope is sometimes found in the poems. That is, the resurrection of the dead or the return of the holy is possible. The gathering of the dead who continue to think and dream through contemplative plants and their memories mixed with the collective unconscious may be a preparation for the coming of the overman. The ghosts and the dead that we often encounter in Raine's poems remind me of Plotinus, who argued that nature and especially its plants have the ability to contemplate like soul and intellect. Plants and everything in nature, animate and inanimate, can create by contemplation, just like the flowers in Raine's poems that think silently, develop, desire, and create. If man is a hybrid born of the union of the plant and the ghost in the situation he is in now, it arouses the idea that the plant grows in silent meditation and that the ghosts continue to create through contemplation. Instead of dispelling the ghosts who run her life, Raine lovingly welcomes them to her poetry. She doesn't preach over earthly hopes. She is closer to the overhuman as someone who is endowed with the sense of the earth. Lyric, seed, passion, word made flesh, Northumbrian sequences, the halt, Nocturne 1 and 2, the Tree of Heaven, 4 poems of Mary Magdalene. The poet answers the accuser, infinite, the rose, mandala, spell of creation, 2 invocations of death, a world known to the dead, the holy shroud, Kore in Hades, Lachesis, the hyacinth, the hollow hint, Ilan Kanai, the silver stag, the dead, dreams, the crypt, Hieros Gamos, dream, acacia tree. I went out naked into the night, either afloat in the bay, crossing the sand, the oracle in the heart, a departure, light over water, descend into Hades. Air and water are among Raine's poems that show how engagement with archetypal image patterns are woven into her poetics. In her poems, Enclosed Gardens, The Seed of Life, The Holy Fire of Passion, The Eternal Rose, The Perennial Circle of the Sun, The Dead Who Change Their Garments and Return, The Souls Blooming, Ancestral Memories, The Mountain Like Manna, Bird Souls, Sea Souls, Fossil Shells, Cupid and Psyche in Trance, The Dead in Dreams, Astray, Winter Woods, The Lily and the Dove, The Unending Wedding Feast, East of the Westering Sun, West of the New Moon, The Dust of Life, and many other images culminate in new constellations. Raine asks, statement of mystery, how shall we name a spirit clothed in world, a world made man? I believe that Raine should be considered together with Luce Irigaray so that she can reach more readers in the future, and her knowledge can give hope to people who feel lost and persuade them to partake of the legacy of archaic heritage. Raine's efforts and what she is trying to explain will be better understood when spirituality, philosophy, art, literature, and science come to the stage of joining forces in order to remain loyal to the earth in the Anthropocene epoch. Apart from their commitments to nature, Luce Irigaray and Kathleen Raine have a lot in common in terms of their childhood experiences and their love for nature as a kind of sheltered place to which they can always return. Like Raine, Irigaray managed to survive thanks to the common existence she had discovered with the vegetal world in her idyllic childhood. In Irigaray's section of Through Vegetal Being, Two Philosophical Perspectives, she recounts how she found refuge in nature after her expulsion from universities and psychoanalytic institutions. Quote, "In the woods, in the garden, I was contemplating the forms that the tree adopted, how it was able to change while remaining itself, a change in which it didn't risk losing itself in devices because it amounts to the appearing of a living being. And I wondered why we as humans have ignored such an aptitude and thus resort to constructed forms to become acculturated," unquote. Raine also underwent similar ordeals, both at the end of her marriages and her painful breakup with Gavin Maxwell. She also suffered from intergenerational traumas and found solace in her childhood reveries. Both Raine and Irigaray have a common interest in Indian philosophy and culture. Their reflections on Shiva, one of the principal deities of Hinduism, verify this. Raine's poem on Shiva, entitled In Millennial Hymn to the Lord Shiva, describes a fragmented civilization which has brought the planet to the edge of extinction. Knowledge has been replaced by information, earthly paradise has been transformed to lifeless matter, the death drive has overcome life drive. Raine repeatedly asks this question, quote, "At the end of history, to whom can we pray but to the destroyer, the liberator, the purifier," unquote. Irigaray is more optimistic than Raine. She believes that Shiva is, quote, "the God who could help to assure the transition between the Nietzschean old man of the West and the new man imprudently called Superman by Nietzsche. All that is present and in transformation in Shiva himself, so much so that contemplating him, we contemplate the universal metabolism of the world," unquote. Human, a hybrid of plant and ghost, will be overhuman to the extent that she can sense the earth. Intuitive understanding, on the other hand, is possible only by understanding archetypes, being in harmony with all living things on earth. When we bring the archaic and ancestral memories to the present day and adopt a cyclical understanding of time and understand that all living things in nature, including plants immersed in a silent contemplation, we can engage in the act of creating a new consciousness arising from the healing power of poetry, philosophy, and seek an alternative way of thinking in order, quote, "to recreate a common language for the communication of knowledge of spiritual realities," unquote, based on a rhizomatic sense of dwelling on our planet. In these bleak times, Kathleen Raine's impressive literary work and her guiding intelligence grounded in perennial philosophy and engagement with mystery opens up new vistas and liberating perspectives. If we can bring Raine and Irigaray together and initiate a dialogue between their works, I believe that these two writers who can feel the earth and transfer the rich legacy of philosophy and literature to their works will open a way for today's people who, quote, "live in a world of imaginative illiteracy," unquote, to overcome the feelings of defeat and entrapment. It is in this perspective that both Raine and Irigaray can provide us with liberating light. Thank you for watching.